Yep.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of I Mustache You Something. And man, we came back hot. I don't even know how to summarize the last one. Um, we lost Mitch. Um, Mitch was so scandalized by how Cherif ended our last episode, he stormed off and protest. No. Mitch had other things to tend to, but with his blessing, we're gonna record. And I think Mitch, Ralph, and I are all on the same page, and rarely like is it 3-1.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but like it's usually 2-2 where like there's at least one person that's willing to take the devil's advocate position. But our understanding so far, and Sharif, correct me if I'm wrong, we were talking about moral and ethical responsibilities in government. We got there talking about accountability, and we got there talking about how, people in a position of power need to be held to the same standard, at least, if not a higher standard as everybody else, and they can't just get away with things. And then I don't know how we got there, but you, why don't you say it? Because I can't even say it out loud.
So for some reason we're discussing Trump and me being leaning Democrat and him saying something nonsense, but it doesn't
Well,
really
yeah,
matter.
I was saying that,
Mhm.
as Christians, like, yes, we want to make sure that we're thoughtful about not just what we say, but how we say it, right? So I brought up the example of how, he is in a position where everything that he says is scrutinized. And no, it was like not even in the top 200 dumbest things he's ever said, or not in the top 1,000 most misogynistic things he's ever said. But for him to say, oh, we're going to invite the women's hockey team, just because we have to, right? That's like, that, I mean, that's going to rub people the wrong way, and it should, right? Some people, are overly sensitive. I don't think it's overly sensitive when he's clearly like old boying it with the men's hockey team, and he's sort of like, yeah, and too bad we have to invite the women too. Like, no, like that is not respectful, and that's not something that's becoming of a president. At the
And
same
that not
time,
should not be normalized for sure.
right, exactly. That's all I'm saying. At the
Mm.
same time, Trump is a person, right? And he needs to be seen as a child of God and somebody that we, see as an icon of Christ. And, like all of the things that we say about how we should respect each other apply to the person that you really don't um, potentially respect at all. Right. And that's all I was saying. And then you said,
And I said, yeah, I don't support him in many things, but if he wanted or if he's going to destroy the Iranian regime for saving the humanity as an existential threat, not only to the US or to the Western civilization, but to humanity, I'll fully support him. And a sort of destruction that's not Iraq or Afghanistan or this nonsense or Somalia, it's Hitler destruction because I equate the Iranian regime to the Nazis, and Mitch didn't like this or didn't agree. And Ralph asked, do you think that the Iranian regime is an existential threat? And let me come from this exact point. The Iranian regime is an existential threat to Islam. And me being a member of the Coptic Church, which has roots in an Islamic country, I have a moral responsibility and a political responsibility and a pragmatic responsibility to protect Islam. Gregorius Nahum was a Greek Melkite Catholic patriarch of Damascus, and he retired. Now there is Joseph Apsi. He was a thinker, and in one of his messages about Christmas or Nativity, he said that we are the Church of Islam. And people like criticize him. Ah, why are you talking? You're like a blah blah. No, no, that's very true. whether we are in the land of immigration, the diaspora, or rooted in Upper Egypt village, the Antiochian church, the Coptic church, the Syriac church, the Greek Melkite church, all of those churches are Church of Islam.
What's that mean?
So,
That
so
we,
someone said it differently at our servants meeting on Sunday, that
mm,
being a minority in an Islamic country is in and of itself part of our identity.
yes, yes, for sure. We don't embrace Islam for sure. We don't defend Islamic
Right.
beliefs for sure, but we coexist.
Right. If we're the flower, Islam is the soil, kind of
Something like,
analogy.
or we are a part of this society,
Right.
and we cannot imagine being a vast majority or even a vast minority. We are a small minority, and we need to be pragmatic first. We need to be political second, but above all, we need to be Christians, and we care about this. So my friend Ahmed, for example, who I totally respect and love, I need to care about his well-being and his existence in the land of the Middle East. The Iranian regime is a threat for this existence. The Iranian regime is a threat for its own people.
Okay, let me ask Ralph two questions, and then I have questions for Sharif that I mustache you. Uh,
Mm.
I don't get to do that a lot. So Ralph, if
Yeah.
Iran was a credible existential threat, which you and I object to, right? Like we don't think it's a credible if it were a credible existential threat, then is
To who?
everything that Hmm?
To us as Americans or to Egypt?
Hypothetically, in the hypothetical, like because you said they don't have any long range weapons.
Right.
Let's say they did. Well, they don't have this. Let's say they did.
What's
Like
the issue?
whatever
Oh,
criteria you feel need to be in place for them to be a true existential threat to America, you agree that this is fair game to say it is our sort of political and ethical responsibility to to go do something.
I think just being an existential threat without any credible immediate threat doesn't uh, precipitate any type of war. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think,
So they could be an existential threat that's not imminent, and
right,
it's
China's an
better.
existential threat. They have all the
no, no,
weapons, they
no, no,
have
no, no,
everything.
no, no, no. There is a whole
They're worse
different,
than China. They're worse than Russia.
North
worse, way
Korea?
worse, way worse.
Oh, come on, man.
Okay, okay.
Russia is not
So let's
religiously
put that
biased.
question aside.
Well, Russia is not religiously biased. China doesn't have a religion. When you have a religiously fueled dictatorship, where they think they are the divine Messiah to save the whole world, and it's their religion, which is not true about Islam, by the way, in the vast understanding, with their deep rooted religious belief that they need to go and destroy everyone. Russia is not like this. Russia can sit on the table for negotiation. China is not like this. They are the dealers. You give them business, they give you business. Well and good. But they're not religiously biased. They're not spiritually brainwashed. They don't have a Malali. They don't have Ayatollah. They don't have the vicar of God on earth.
Okay,
It,
so
it's
I'm going to
different.
skip my second question to Ralph, and I'm
Mm,
going to come back to you, Sharif.
mm.
It, I need to be reminded because I've been told this before that the specific sect within Islam that is the prevailing one in Iran, right? Which is like
Shia.
their leadership and
Mm.
whatnot
Yeah.
is the same one, right? As the Muslim Brotherhood is the
No,
same. No,
no, no, no.
but the Muslim, if I remember correctly, the Muslim Brotherhood is the same as Hamas in
Yes,
Palestine, and it's the
yes.
same as the rebels. I don't know what the status is of Syria right now, but like the ones who were the rebels against Bashar al-Assad, right? Those three are the same.
Yeah, so in Islam, and I'm not trying to tell you that you don't know
No,
about
I
Islam
don't.
much,
I
but
don't. Yeah.
that's why you cannot understand Iran. There
Right.
are
That's why I'm asking the question to clarify.
there are two big sects: Sunni Muslims,
Right.
Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Palestine, majority of Syria, half of Lebanon, and Shia. But there are minor sects, Alawiyin, for example, like Bashar al-Assad, which is similar to Shia but not exactly like Shia. Ismailiyya, similar to Shia but not exactly. The Sunnah or the Sunni al-Azhar is their Vatican or their Pope, whatever you call it. Muslim Brotherhood is a part of the Sunni Muslim. Hamas is part of Muslim Brotherhood. Ahmad al-Shara, or the current de facto and de jure president of Syria, is the same. Hezbollah, Houthis, and the Shia militia in Iraq are the same as the Malali system in Iran. However, there is that's very intriguing fact. Iran was supporting Hamas. The Shia was supporting the Sunnah against Israel and against Egypt, by the way. Okay? And former President Mubarak said it clearly. I think, and I'm against Mubarak, by the way. But he said, I think Iran is on my border because of Hamas. In the same time, Iran was supporting Hezbollah against Ahmad al-Shara in Syria.
And you were saying that he's
He's Sunni.
Shia like Iran.
Ahmad al-Shara is Sunnah.
Hmm.
So the Shia or the extremist Shiite system, the Malali in Iran, is supporting the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine or Gaza and fighting the Muslim Brotherhood and others in Lebanon and in Syria.
Right.
In the
Okay.
same moment, whether there is American funds to this, yes. European funds to this, yes. Turkish support to this, yes. And they're all playing around. But you can play this political and logistical and intelligent force game as much as you can. Turkey, Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Emirat, Sudan, yeah, you play wherever. But once you have inspirely divine or pseudo divine leadership that thinks that it's our time to lead the world, like Malali system in Iran and like Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt.
Yeah, but Sharif,
Yeah,
I think I would make a good global dictator. I think I have the
I love where this is
wherewithal.
going.
I think I have the wherewithal and the drive and
Charisma. Don't forget the
I,
charisma.
I thank you
sense
for
of
saying
humor.
it. I did because of my humility, which I also possess.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say that
big
I have
time.
this
Yeah.
charisma, but I do. Everything you're saying to me sounds like, Hillary Clinton wanted to be president when she was a kid too. I mean, it
How
everything you're
many
saying
people
just
will
said.
kill? How many people will kill themselves?
خليهم يموتوا بعض. What do
No,
I care?
no. You don't
What do I
understand.
care?
You
This
don't
sounds
Wait,
like a
hold on. But
medieval.
I think what
No,
Ralph is
no.
saying is that like we are not in an imminent or eventual danger of Ralph being the dictator of the world.
Right,
Like there's
exactly.
no real threat. And
Right.
Hillary
that's
Clinton.
our biggest, like what are you talking about? Like what does
Yeah.
Iran have that is actually going to accomplish what it is that you're concerned they're going to accomplish?
Even
Lone
if they
wolf.
blew up all the oil fields, I
Lone
mean,
wolf.
America's self-reliant on its own gas. Yeah,
Okay.
sure, gas prices will go up everywhere else and the thing will be wrecked and it'll be bad, but
No,
we'll be fine,
no. That's a misconception. Does Hillary Clinton have 100,000 lone wolves that they can go and bomb every part of the world? No. Does Iran have this? Yes. Period.
ما عملوش
Period.
حاجة يا عم. I mean احنا
They
we are
dis-
here.
well, you are here because of people like Trump. You are
We
here
do not
because
we don't
people.
continue. Are you saying we continue to live because of the patience and reasonableness of the Iranian regime? I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say
No,
that they are inclined to world domination and they're crazy and they have 100,000 ready cells all over the world to disrupt things, but they haven't. Okay, well, they haven't. Why? Because they're reasonable. So they
no,
can't be
no.
unreasonable and reasonable at the same
Because there is
time.
a ship. There is a ship.
What is the ship?
Trump. He has a
They
ship
didn't do
all
it
the
under
time.
Biden. They didn't do it under Obama.
They have a lesser ship.
I
Trump
mean,
is a big ship.
maybe a different way of saying it, like forget the president, because I don't think this has anything to
Yeah,
do with the president. But like
the
you're saying that
administration.
our intelligence apparatus, like the CIA and you know all of like the covert operatives that we have, like that are allied with us around the world, are good enough that even though Iran is a credible threat, they're keeping them at bay.
So far, but not in 10, 15, 20 years.
What's
50
That's
going to
what you're
years.
happen in
saying.
10, 15, 20 years?
They'll get out of control, like Bin Laden, like Saddam, like Hitler.
Oh, come on. You don't believe that.
No, I clearly believe that. And
Listen,
that
I mean, this is being recorded, right? So
yeah,
I'm posting the other one where you brought this up at the end, for Monday, February 23rd, and then this one is going to get posted for Monday, March 2nd, 2026. And if Iran does this, whatever you're saying in, the spring of 2047, people are going to look back on this, be like, Cherif called it.
or if Mr. Trump like aborted all the regime. And
What if
I
what if
think he
Trump
will do it very
what if
soon.
Trump comes up? I've read something that, Rubio has said to the Ayatollahs and the mullahs, if you leave, uh, that's what we want you to do. We want you to leave. Is that good enough for you if they leave
Yeah,
or no?
leave. So here it is. Leave exactly like Germany. You leave, you get international corps, whatever you call it, UN, US, EU, dismantle all of this. 50 years of a buffer time without military, and let the Iranian people live their life, elect another non-religious dictator, or bring a king or whatever, another corrupt person to lead them,
But not religious.
but not religiously biased. That's the whole issue. Like I'll tell you a story. February or March 2011, after the Egyptian Revolution, end of Mubarak era, February 11, 2011, and the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood. And they started to feel nice. Okay, we need to talk with the church. We need to talk with the Coptic people. Okay, I was there back in Egypt. So we opened kind of unofficial channels. Like you'll not go and talk to the Pope directly or to the priest or to the bishop. Like younger youth leader will go and explore, test the war. And for 2 hours, I was sitting with one of their leaders, leader of the international system of the Muslim Brotherhood, not the national one. He's now he escaped in a kind of self-exile in London. But anyway, for 2 hours, I was trying to explain to him that don't get very arrogant, try to work with everyone, don't oppose the military rule that was there in Egypt because they will eat you, destroy you forever. And if they do this, you will be gone, and the whole Egyptian system will enter into a military rule for 150 years. Either you be pragmatic and preserve your existence in a way and preserve good ties and good relation with everyone, the liberals, the left, the whatever, and the church, or you will be destroyed. The amount of arrogance, the amount of religiously biased idea, as if it was Moses on the mountain and God was talking to him. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I told him, you don't understand what's going on. He said, no, no, no. We are supported by God for a divine mission. That's exactly Ayatollah.
هم راحوا فين? But where did they go?
Well, well,
Everything,
well,
the
well,
same
well.
thing with Iran. They think they're on a divine mission, but
Yeah,
it
but
really,
they don't have 1/1,000 from the power of Iran. They were actually funded by Iran. And due to intervention from the UAE, the Saudi Arabia, and the Egyptian military, they were destroyed. But in Iran, nobody can destroy the regime from inside. They don't have this capacity.
you don't think Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Israel and Jordan have enough military to fight off whatever of your deepest concerns are?
No. Actually, what Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Jordan is a failing country, forget about it. Saudi Arabia and Egypt are actually putting brakes on the plan of destruction of the Iranian regime because they don't want to destabilize the area now. And they don't know the threats. They don't understand it fully.
You don't think Saudi Arabia understands the threat of a Shiite
No,
Iranian hegemonic uh, fears? I think they do. How can they not?
no, no.
They
Because
hate each other.
they have their own religiously biased ideas. وانا
Mm.
وابن عمي وانا واخويا على ابن عمي وانا وابن عمي على الغريب. You know what's this?
Yeah, yeah, I understand it.
Me and my brother against my cousin, and me and my cousin against the foreigner or the stranger. So even the most liberal Saudi monarch, MBS, he will think like this. أنا أخوي على ابن عمي. That and that's again a destruction to the existence of the so-called or the majority of moderate Muslim in the land of in the Middle East countries. And we need to be very serious about this. And yes, and Hitler style destruction of the Iranian regime will destabilize the area for sure, for sure. And you have lone wolves like all over the place trying to do something, but it will sterilize this idea for the next 50, 150 years. Will not prevent it from coming again, but each كل صرصار ما يطلع له الشبشب بتاعه like like each cockroach coming out you have its own like insecticide.
Mitch is totally missing out on all these Shariferisms.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. I don't know. I tend to think, listen, while I see a bigger threat from Islam than I do from Iran. Any type of geopolitical, any of these nations. I don't, Iraq was never an existential threat. Afghanistan was never an existential threat. Saudi
Mm.
Arabia is never an existential threat. I mean, existential threat I have more problems with,
No,
uh, the
Afghanistan
mayor of
was
London than I do with.
no, no. Afghanistan was an existential threat, not to the extent of Iran. But again, like I might be biased because I lived the situation, and I might be hypersensitive uh, to whenever somebody is calling like Bismillah. Like
No,
I'm
but
very
like there's a difference between being hypersensitive versus appropriately sensitive, right? Like understanding a threat, right, makes you appropriately sensitive. PTSD makes you overly sensitive, and it's um,
anyway.
right? It's impossible to determine which one this is, right? Because we're all, complex people with complex experiences. At the same time, I like that saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean that people aren't out to get you, right? So
Right.
like just because I think, your experience with that Muslim Brotherhood leader, you know, number one, you seemed to give him good advice and he seemed not to take it. Um, and that informs how you see that type of theological political ideology. And in that case, you are correct, and being correct once means that you're more likely to feel more confident the next time you make a statement, in the same realm.
So
But
let's
that doesn't
shift
mean you're
gears.
necessarily correct.
Let's shift gears, for example, for the situation in the Coptic Church with the defenders of faith and all of the zealots movement back in Egypt trying to dismantle the Pope from all his powers and stuff. It's the same ideology, but they don't have the weapon yet.
I'm not familiar with what you're saying.
Okay. So 2012, we have a new Pope who is, as we said before, less charismatic than the prior one, who is more lenient on dogmatic issues, relationship with other churches, um, kind of more westernized, maybe more liberal, maybe, and then it's coming a full militia of electronic militia of defenders of faith. Whenever he says something, they attack him. He is, for example, he's changing the way of doing the Holy Maroon. They attack him in many, many, many events, and they are forming militias. Whether they are accepted publicly or not, they're accepted only on Facebook, but publicly, like the regular people, the regular cops are actually more liberal than them. But anyway, and then they start having the conspiracy after the other, attacking the Pope personally, attacking his initiative personally, like the famous seminar about Nicaea last year, or the year before actually, where he called the Holy Synod for a seminar to discuss or to educate, to have education session about Nicaea, and he invited a certain speaker that the defenders of faith they don't like because he's pro-Greek, and this whole movement of palace coup and that pushed the Pope actually to cancel the seminar and to talk very bitterly about how he doesn't find love in the people that he is dealing with. That's the same mentality. We are in a holy mission to preserve orthodoxy, and we have an enemy. This enemy needs to be neutralized emotionally, publicly, and if we can, physically. The same what happened with Epiphanius. You neutralize your threat.
I mean,
So,
when you were talking about Iran, in my head, I was less concerned about Iran and these religious fanatics taking over the world, which, I'm st like, forgive me, Sharif, I
mm,
like, I love agreeing with you, because, there's people when I disagree with them, I worry that I'm on the wrong side of history because they tend to be
mm.
right. But in this case, like I'm not seeing it with Iran and a military existential threat. I do see it in the Coptic Church with a theological, spiritual existential threat.
And could be physical, could be spiritual, could be both emotional, and you go on and forth, so on and so forth. But this is the threat that we should be kind of aware of it or should be worried about it. It's the same mentality
Right. That's
with
that I
different
think, Sharif,
with different
sorry,
meaning.
Ralph, do you agree that religious fanaticism is a credible existential threat, not militarily for the world, but spiritually for within our church?
This is the first I'm hearing about it because I'm not on Facebook anymore, so I really haven't been aware of it. So I don't, I just Googled it right now, or Faith Protectors refers to a conservative, often social media driven faction of the Coptic clergy and laity that emerged in opposition to the reformist agenda of Pope Tawadros II. This group, closely tied to the legacy of late Pope Shenouda III, has criticized Tawadros for trying to revoke rebaptisms and for his openness to new theological interpretations. So I didn't, I've never heard about this before.
No,
I guess I'm sheltered in my, you know, in
which
my,
is which is good. Which is good that the land of immigration is kind of sheltered. Like our youth, they have enough challenges to deal with. Not for this, but this is an existential threat in our Coptic church, and only because the leadership is very humble. Actually, a crisis didn't happen or a schism didn't happen.
Hmm.
a
And I said,
a schism because of the Pope, because the Pope
yeah,
wants to do certain.
yeah. They threatened.
Where would they go? It all fit.
No, they kick him out.
Also, they exile him,
Yeah, excommunicate him.
the
And then
Pope,
we have, yes,
Yeah,
and
through
you
the
we have the
had
Synod.
court.
The
Yeah,
Synod would excommunicate him.
didn't you hear about Pope Pius II?
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
Well,
This
it's 60 years ago.
I mean,
And the one
they
that,
tried to do it with Pope Carolus also. Like, you think Pope Carolus
yeah.
like just coasted after Pope Euseb? Like, there's a difference between like someone being persecuted for good reason, right? Because you're
a
simony
heretic
and
or
like
whatever.
selling you know
But
church favors and whatever. Like that was Pope Euseb versus
no. And that was a mistake in history, by the way.
what
That's
do
a
you
big
mean?
mistake in history. Pope Pius didn't do Simon.
I heard there were rumors of his being a homosexual. That's what I heard the
No,
issues of him were.
no. He
Speaking
was
of
a
rumors,
poor he was a poor leader that allowed the second layer to overtake stuff, but he didn't sell a single bishopric seat. And by the way,
no, but
the
the
one
people that were working under him that he trusted and delegated to were, and he's responsible for that.
they didn't sell bishopric seats. It was other sort of corruption, like lands, maybe properties, administrative mistakes, but not a single bishop was ordained by Simony under Pope Euseb, or the prior pope, or afterwards.
But are these credible threats? I mean,
That,
again, could these just be, I want to be the dictator of the world? And the synod would never, this synod would never, they would, they have, all they do is they argue about, the lengths of their Cossacks, like what,
no, no,
what
no, no,
You're
real
saying
work?
they're not sophisticated
no, no,
enough to do something so
They're
sinister?
not,
We have multi-million pounds properties. No.
ha- there are over 100 members of the Holy Synod. You're gonna
Hundred.
get you're gonna get I just again I think your analogy to Iran is apt because I don't think there's a threat there either. I think there are
Well,
people who are pissed off all the time. There are pissed off people all the time. And there's nothing
sure,
that's gonna
but
happen. They can be
but
pissed off.
those pissed off people can cause or are causing a lot of troubles, and only through God's grace things got better. Like coming back to Pope Yoseb, the layman who led the opposition campaign to excommunicate or to put him under house arrest, whatever, was called Gindi Abdel Malik. Gindi Abdel Malik was the minister of interior something in the government of Nasser. This Gindi Abdel Malik is the uncle of my grandfather. And we had this
انت
stories
سبب
of
المشاكل ديت كلها.
Giddy. And we have the stories all over the family about how he did that and how he did this. And at the end, in the last hours of his life, he called the Pope and asked for forgiveness. So it it's bigger and the church was in big distress in the 1950s because of lack of strong leadership, but again because of conspiracy inside the synod. And what happened 2 years ago or a year and a half ago was that close However, was different that Nasser in the 1950s was happy with this game because he wanted to be the only dictator in the country, and Sisi in 2024 was not happy with the game, and he clearly told, like when he came to one of his Christmas liturgy, although I don't like when he comes, yelling, the shouting, and everything, but he sent a very clear message to the clergy and to the synod and to the people. I like this guy. Take care of him. Don't make problems with him.
Hmm.
So that's different. Nasser was happy. Okay, let's make some fireworks.
So there's no real threat. That's what you're saying. At the end of the day,
Currency, yeah,
you're saying there's no threat.
currency. But the danger of religious fundamental thought when it controls a group of people, zealots, or a group of assassins, hashashin. You know the story about the assassins,
Yeah.
where it comes from. We cannot stop it. We need to destroy it.
How many
Listen,
members of the synod would vote to
so,
to,
so
to
Ralph,
kick
let me
him
let
off?
me let me just
Do
say
we
that
really
like
need a Senate vote?
so I'm gonna say that like you and I like have the privilege of living in a country where and bringing this back full circle to like the conversation that we started, an hour and a half ago, the beginning of the last episode about justice, accountability, what it means to be free. Like stuff that like you and I would be like, that would never happen. Um, I think we're starting to question that now under the Trump administration because we take certain constitutional realities as, uh, like God-given and divine mandate. And it's actually like thank God that we had the founding fathers and thank God we had the brilliant people that designed our Constitution the way that it is to protect us from people that want to undermine other people's civil liberties. But it didn't happen by accident, right? It
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
happen, because people are nice and people are good. So things that at least, and maybe I'll just speak for myself, maybe this doesn't apply to you. Things that I take for granted as someone who lives in a country that protects civil liberties, that, has a fundamental understanding of freedom of speech, whether or not it's connected to the right to bear arms or not. But like to live in a country that believes and supports justice is something that maybe we take for granted. And people coming from a country like Egypt, anything can go sideways any day of the week. Like Iran decides big, and that's it. Like the Middle East gets destabilized. Like some bishop decides that they're going to go to war and they just have enough supporters and they're not coaxed into, cooperation, and then we have a schism, is something that you and I will be like, no, that'll never happen. But if you've seen it happen on a smaller scale, what's to stop it from happening on a larger scale, which is, I think, Cherif is getting at.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. The
so
the
if
scale can move very quickly.
so if we were on poly markets right now, Sharif,
Mm,
and we had to, you're familiar with poly markets, right?
no.
Okay, Polymarkets is the global betting site for
Okay.
politics and all those other things. So right now, if you go to Polymarket and you put in, the United States bombing Iran, what are the odds? People are taking bets, that that it happens before the end of February. There's most people are betting money, saying 29% saying it's going to happen before February. But if it's to the end of the year, you got about 76% that say it's going to happen before the end of the year, that the U.S. will attack Iran. So if this were a poly market, how credible is the idea of a schism in our church as it stands a year from now with this pope? Is it a 50-50 chance? Is it
Yeah,
a
so
80,
30%. I
30%?
think 20 to 30%.
So you admit it's not really credible. It's not. I mean, there's
Well,
no.
that's credible. That's credible.
20% seems high to me.